And for storing our high score, we will use this cool feature of Unity that is called PlayerPrefs. So PlayerPrefs is basically just a place in memory where we can store some values. So we can store ints, we can store strings, and we access the fields in our PlayerPrefs by using the string keys. Right now I will show you what I mean to get an idea of what it is. I will write if PlayerPrefs dot has key, and I will search for the key high score, and actually I would like to check if it doesn't contain this key. So if we still haven't added this key high score to our PlayerPrefs, I will write PlayerPrefs dot set integer, and I will say high score, and I will set a value for it, which will take an integer, so I will set it to 0. So what this couple of lines of code will do is they will first check if we have created a key in PlayerPrefs that is called high score, and if we haven't created such a key, it will create a key called high score, and it will set the value corresponding to this key to 0. And also right in the beginning of our game we can set our score text dot text to be equal to 0. So, and notice that 0 is not an integer, I am using a string that just says 0. And for our high score text, I will write high score text dot text equals PlayerPrefs, so we will get a value from our PlayerPrefs, and there is a method getInt, and I will just have to supply a key, so the key for our high score will be called high score, and I will put a semicolon in the end. So here in this method, if we have never had a high score before, it will be just set to 0, and then in the beginning of our game both the values of our score and our high score will be set to 0. But if we have played this game before, then this if statement will not work, so we will already have a value of high score, and our high score text in our scene will be set to the value that we have in our PlayerPrefs. And I have forgot to put the toString here, because from our PlayerPrefs we will get an integer value, and we have to convert it to string to assign it to our high score text property. And next, to interact with our score tracker, I will write a property that will work with this private int score variable. So I will say public int, and I will name it score with a capital letter. I will open and close these brackets, and here I will write a get accessor and a set accessor. Set. Alright, so if we are just getting a value of our score, I will say return score with the small letter s in the beginning, and if we are setting the value of score, then we should do a couple of things. First, we have to assign the value that we get to our variable score, so I will write score equals value. Next, we can update our score text in the scene, so I can say score text dot text equals score dot toString, so that our score text always shows the value of our actual score. And next I will add a couple of lines that will allow us to track our high score. So I will say if PlayerPrefs getInt, and I will access our high score integer, is less than score, and I have to change this S to a capital S because otherwise it won't work. And what this line will check for is whether or not the value of our current score is greater than the value that we have for high score in our PlayerPrefs. And if we have exceeded our high score, we have to go to our PlayerPrefs and update them. So here I will say PlayerPrefs dot set int, and I will access the integer with our key high score. I always forget to make this letter S capital, so it should say high score, and I will write the value of our score variable into it. In this case, we should also update our high score text. So high score text dot text equals score dot toString. And now this class called score tracker should do the trick for us, so I will go to file and hit save. But we haven't yet introduced any interaction with our score tracker in our game manager. So to establish this interaction, we have to know in which situations the score gets updated in the 2048 game. And in the game of 2048, the score is updated when we merge tiles together, and the value of the merged tile gets added to the score. So we have to locate our methods make one move down index and make one move up index, go to our merged block, and in this if statement that is responsible for merging the tiles, right in the end before we return any value, I will write score tracker dot instance dot score. So we will access this property, and I will write plus equals, and I will say line of tiles with the index of I, because we have already modified the value of the number on this tile, dot number. So we will add the number of the merged tile that we have got this turn to the value of our score. And I will select this line, press Ctrl C, and I will go to the other method that we have that is called make one move up index, and in the same place I will paste this line. So now I can go to file and hit save all and go to Unity to test it. First we have to attach this class called score tracker to any game object in our scene. I'm attaching everything to our canvas, so I'll go to canvas and I will collapse this style holder, and I will grab the score tracker and write onto our canvas. And now we can manually establish the connection between our score tracker and our texts that will be responsible for showing our scores. So I will open score HUD and high score HUD in the hierarchy view, and I will grab the score number from the score HUD and drag it onto the score text, and I will drag the score number from the high score HUD onto the high score text. And once I have done all that, I can launch our game, and we can see that now the score and the high score values have turned to 0. And once I start playing our game, when I merge the tiles, the score gets updated, and the high score gets updated in the same time because we didn't have any value previously in our high score. So right now my score is 152, and once I exit the game and enter the game once again, the score will be 0, but the high score will be stored in this place called PlayerPrefs. It will get the high score from the PlayerPrefs and show it to me, and currently it is 152, but if I try to play a bit more and beat my high score, so it will take just a couple of seconds. And once I actually beat my high score, so now it's 176, when I merge the tiles, the score will get updated once again, and the next time when I enter play mode, the high score will show 192. So in this lecture we have made our score and high score HUDs working, and we have also made our new game button fully functional. But I think that our players might play this game longer than we do it for test purposes. So there are two possibilities. Probably most of the time players will lose, so if the field is full we should display some kind of a message that says game over and your score was something, and if the player wins and gets to the 2/8 tile, we should display a message something like you won, and we can either interrupt the game completely or give our player an opportunity to continue and merge the tiles a bit more and see how far he can go or how high a score he can get. So in the next lecture I'll work on figuring out the game over conditions and displaying some kind of a message when the game ends to our player. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.